Well, I definitely think my big focus with DJ is inferring. And we just finished with a narrative piece because I wanted to ease him into the process with something he's more comfortable with. Mm-hmm. And then tomorrow we're going to start with this book, The Wizard of Menlo Park, which is about Thomas Edison, who he expressed a lot of interest in through our conversation. So I wanted to pull in that interest. And when I'm working with inferring, I think it's been a little bit of a struggle for me with him because inferring is probably something I'm least comfortable teaching. Mm-hmm. So I've had him doing a double entry journal. We started today with, we first started the first few days with just in the book in my head to start thinking about the text. Mm-hmm. Now we have in the book in my head and an inference. Okay. So he has to take something that happened, take his prior knowledge, connect them to make an inference in the text. Okay. And that's been a little bit of a struggle, which it's his area of need, so I kind of expected that. Mm-hmm. But I'm a little nervous about it in an expository text because I'm, again, most comfortable in fiction just like he is. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit out of my comfort zone.
Okay. So you finished the Lone Wolf book.
Mm-hmm. We finished
Lone Wolf. And that was a narrative text. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is his first expository.
It is. So I plan to do just the beginning of Edison's life with him tomorrow, the first few sections of the book that give a background on Thomas Edison. And there's some information in there where he faced daunting obstacles. I think there's some definite language in there that leads us to make inferences. So I noticed today that he was getting really stuck. He got in the book. He had a thought in my head, but a lot of his thoughts were predictions. So I had to do a lot of prompting and guiding. Okay. And that was kind of difficult because I'm even going, well, what can we infer here? Like in my mind, it was really hard to work through that. And then from there, I was thinking about how I get him unstuck. Because it was really difficult for me to guide him without just telling him, here's what the inference is, or here's what I think. I wanted him to sort of come to the conclusions himself with the inferences, but I wanted to support it.
Right. So you modeled for him and then gradually let go of that prompting. And then did he improve at all?
He still needed prompting to get through it, but it was less. So the first one was mainly me doing most of it, and then it was a little bit more of us together. And by the last one, although he still needed the prompting, it wasn't as heavy. Okay. So my goal is to work on the prompts that I give him so he can start to internalize those thoughts and questions. So when he goes to infer, he has a bank of all right, well, what can I think of? How does this connect? Things like that. So I think that's going to be my focus in the next lesson, really working on guiding him through that process. Okay. So I think what would be most useful for me is if you could observe that process when I'm giving him those questions and prompts, and kind of record the things I'm asking him. Okay. And if something doesn't work to get him unstuck, put an N or something next to it. And if it does work to get him unstuck, put a Y next to it so I can kind of look back and reflect and see what is helping him most and what is not.
Okay. So are you using the same chart that you used with the Lone Wolf?
I'm going to use the same, we're using a double entry journal. Okay. So it's going to be the same format where it's just in the book, in my head, and then an inference.
Right, okay.
So that there's room for all those processes. I want to do the same thing since I taught it to him the one way. I want to be consistent since he seems to be improving with that. I don't want to rip the rug out from under his feet.
Okay. Right. Okay. And what's the general sequence that you see happening tomorrow?
Well, I always start with reviewing, but since it's a brand new book, we won't review anything from the journal because it's a new text. So I'll start probably with an introduction. And I think I'm going to show him actually some pictures of his inventions because some of the inventions are fairly wordy, and I'd like him to be able to put an image with it to help him with the vocabulary. And so that'll actually sort of coincide with the beginning of the reading. So I think what I'll do is I might read a little bit out loud. Again, model the inferring process, and do my recording. Okay. And then we can read a little bit. We tend to read silently next to each other instead of having him read out loud because he he seems to do really well reading silently.
I
he's
noticed
comfortable.
that in the video, yeah.
He has great silent reading comprehension. So when I do things together, we just kind of look at the same book and read, and then we work together for the inferring.
Right.
And then after that, I like to release a little responsibility and have him read silently. But I need to incorporate those vocabulary things into it. And that's a little bit of a struggle to try and make sure I'm not doing too many things at once. So I think what I'll do is I'll save that for after the reading. And since I'll have a brief understanding of those words, then I'll pull out the pictures and the words and we can talk about them and put them together.
Right, okay.
And I think, it'll be like the gradual release of responsibility with the inferring. But I really want to see what helps get him unstuck best.
Right.
So I can really focus on that.
Right, okay. Well, it looks like this text can lend to multiple activities. Like you said, it can lead into vocabulary further down, because there are some, definitely his inventions, like you said. Those are some bigger words.
And I think we're going to write about this a little bit. I want to start having him kind of compile his knowledge about Thomas Edison, like kind of sort of be a researcher. So then the lesson would end with some writing. In the beginning, just some basic information about Thomas Edison, summarizing a little bit. But as we get further in, I'd like him thinking a little deeper maybe about the significance of some of the inventions. What did it mean for society? How would his life be different today if it wasn't?
Not just that he invented it, that's great, but how did people use it?
And how did it affect society as we know it today? How would we have our lives be different without his inventions? So, because my writing focus is really to get him to use some of that academic vocabulary. So significance, experiments, things that are content-based.
Right.
So that'll be the writing portion, is the content-based writing.
Sounds good to me.
All right. So next time we meet, we'll go over the...
Yes, the prompts that you give him when he gets stuck. And if it was successful or not with getting him